Welcome to the When We Cry Book Club podcast, where we will be discussing Umineko's 5th episode.
Yo!
It's the first first episode of the Answers arc. We finally made it after, when did we start? Like over a year ago?
It's been almost 2 years.
Oh, fuck. Okay, well, this is the first part of our episode discussion. I am your host, Lorenzo. I am accompanied by...
I am his companion, Des.
I am also a friendly neighborhood mushroom that is here to not die from the trees that are killing me.
Oh no. I believe in you. It's also hitting me hard, but...
We are all water types. We're weak against grass. More specifically, dust from plants, I believe. That's what our
Plant
allergies
dust? It's not dust. It's plant sperm.
It's plant cum. Plant cum.
Plant cum.
That's what my friend says, and I hate them for it, but they just keep chanting plant cum whenever I sneeze.
That's what it is. Science, baby. Or science, bitch. I didn't watch Breaking Bad, but...
Me neither.
Anyways, how are you guys?
I am also dying from allergies. We all are. This is the allergy episode.
Yeah, sometimes I listen to the episodes we do, and I feel like I just sound like utterly... I send that utter shit, like, the beginning of, like, the first, like, an hour, and I'm like... And then you just hear me getting progressively more... gain more clarity throughout the episode, and I'm like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah, the book club is therapeutic. Definitely.
Yeah.
So what have we been doing, Lorenzo?
What have I been doing? Good question. I've been playing tons of board games with tons of friends. Woo! But I wanted to bring up Fire Emblem Three Houses.
Oh my god. Yes. Three Hopes.
Well, Three Hopes is coming out in a couple of weeks, but more importantly, Nirvana Initiative 2 is coming out the same day. But we're talking to a friend, and she apparently finished all 4 routes in like 80 hours.
That's not even possible. That I don't believe her.
I really don't know. Like, we all don't believe her.
Did she skip the story?
I don't think she
Did she read anything? What was she doing?
Well, she's a fast reader.
Yeah, but that's okay. What level of difficulty did she play on?
Probably the easiest one, because she doesn't like playing difficult games, I think. But
I was gonna say, I feel like even just with I play on like maddening. I think I'm playing a hard classic. I don't even 80 hours could like fucking do like two of my routes, like just battle thing. Like battling, it just takes a fucking long time.
That's why we don't believe her.
80 hours is what you usually take on your first route.
We simply don't believe her, but I think she knows like the lore in and out, and I don't think she'd just read the wiki, so...
Maybe she's just a master tactician, a prodigy of her time.
I think she just skipped all the like battle animations and voice lines, and
I do too. I actually skip all of my battle animations because I'm too sick of watching. Well, yeah, because it fucking takes 40 fucking years. I already seen it on my first route, and I'm on my third and a half right now.
But then you miss all the fun interactions, like the 15-year-old child Lysithia killing a man just fighting to put food on the table, and then after the fight she just says, "You're irrelevant." That's what you're missing, Mushroom. No, actually, that's her crit quote. That's when she crits.
Crazy how like everybody's still into Three Houses.
I think I still have the crit quotes in, but I don't have the animation in, if that makes any sense.
I don't know. I've never played without animation.
So you don't see like Cynthia jump up and then destroy a man's life.
I have like another friend who's also playing Three Houses, and she like sends me pictures of her playing while she's like working from home. You see her like coding, and then like on a separate monitor is Three Houses. I'm like, you go girl boss. Anyways, how about you guys? What's going on?
Des,
Three Hopes.
Have you tried Three Hopes yet?
Yes, I have. I went in the demo, at least. Only the demo is out as of the time of this recording. I went in just like expecting nice enough gameplay, because I don't think any Warriors game will ever top the Zelda Warriors games, because for some reason they just go fucking ham. So obviously I wasn't expecting that much from the gameplay, but that was what I was looking for. So I came for the gameplay and I stayed for the story, because somehow, like, Warrior spin-offs are known for having the shittiest story, but then Three Hopes just comes in and actually explores all the loose ends of the base game and expands upon them. And I'm like, holy shit, I cannot believe I'm sitting here seeing Edelgard's story getting fleshed out 3 years after the game came out.
Yeah, everybody I know is playing the Edelgard route because they're just like, it's just so much more fucking interesting. And also, like, I just love the fact that, like, everybody's just like, this is very gay, and it's like, I'm just reading a visual novel right now.
Oh my... Shez, like, the main character, Shez, just goes to show you we were robbed. We were robbed with Byleth. Like, we were robbed by having a silent protagonist in Three Houses. If Byleth wasn't a silent protagonist, like Shez isn't, Three Houses would have been so much better.
Damn.
And also, it really goes to show whoever's writing this story really knows the ins and outs of the story and really cares about it. Because the whole promise is this little change in the story led to a whole different outcome. Like a very vast different outcome. And it could feel like an ESPO, but the way they explain it in the story makes total sense that it does not feel like an ESPO. So really well done on the part of the team who made Three Hopes. I can't wait for the whole game to be out.
So are you gonna now definitely buy it now?
Yeah, definitely.
I thought you said that you were gonna stop. I thought you were gonna stop, like, buying games from Nintendo.
And I was, but then I remembered that my parents are divorced, which means that I have to keep going from one house to the other, and carrying 50 games on the back is not doable. So I need to buy them digitally.
I just love the idea that it's like, man decides that he will never buy games from Nintendo because Nintendo's a bad company. Man remembers that actually his parents are divorced and actually this is an unsustainable way to live.
It's the logistics. they keep coming back. But yeah, it just sucks because my bag already goes so full. Every time I need to swap houses. Haha, 3 houses. Actually, only 2. 2 houses.
This is
And
the worst.
you could say, oh yeah, just carry the cartridges. Don't carry the whole box, just the cartridges. Which, yeah, that would make sense.
I don't know what to say, Des. That is just the funniest shit possible.
Yeah, such a gamer.
Yeah, it just sucks having to carry 50 cartridges around. Take this sentence out of context and it just feels like I'm gonna commit some crime. Game cartridges, not gun cartridges. But yes, I am still trying. I only buy from Nintendo what I absolutely want. So which means Three Hopes and Xenoblade 3. I'm not buying anything that I do not absolutely want because Nintendo is a shitty company and I don't want to support them any more than I actually need. Because the thing is, Nintendo is shitty, but Monolith Soft, who develops Xenoblade, isn't shitty. And matter of fact, they're actually a really nice company and I want to support them. It's just that I have to give money to Nintendo, to give money to Monolith Soft.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, anyway, that's my part of it. I don't want to take up any more space because we already have not that much time. So, Mushroom, what have you been doing? Also Three Hopes?
AR-45.
What?
I AR-45.
I have no idea what you just said, Mushroom. You're gonna have to, like, calm down, speak with intervals between the sentences. Oh my god.
Okay, sorry. What I was trying to say is I AR-45'd last night when I was playing Genshin Impact.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I don't know if that explains to you anything, but
it just means she played a lot.
I played a lot.
For those who don't play Genshin, just means Mushroom played a lot.
And it's crazy because I'm actually a really slow player in most games I play. I'm a fast reader, but I'm a slow player. But Genshin is the exact grind set that I like playing Breath of the Wild. And unlike Des, I actually am still at the point where I enjoy gameplay and I enjoy story. So I don't have to look at it through really bitter eyes of, ugh, this game is just boring now.
I hope you keep enjoying the gameplay, Mushroom, because it's really nice that you still like it.
I like it. It's really fun. And also, it's also really good for I'm the type of gamer that basically have to get a game out of my system or it's going to ruin my life. So I have to just play things really fast in a short period of time and then just stop playing it for a while, if that makes any sense. So like the more I could just get out now, the less it would bother me and like less it would like come and haunt me in like 2 months.
Yeah.
So yeah, besides that, I haven't been doing much. Sorry, my brain is dying. I'm doing a lot of gardening. That's another thing. And our IRL
gardening.
Yeah,
that's cute.
IRL, I'm gardening a lot. Because I like, I've been growing a lot of flowers because every year we usually grow like vegetables, but I really hate growing vegetables because I don't really believe in the idea of growing like tomatoes because like you could just buy tomatoes from the store.
I don't believe in vegetables.
And like no matter how much work and time you put in, it's just so much easier to do that. Like you're doing it more for the process than for like the actual like
Right.
you're doing like than actually getting things that you can like you like wow I made this salad with my garden, which I think is like a pretty fucking stupid idea.
I'll only eat it if it has the most GMOs in it.
I usually do gardening so I can get vegetables to dine with my students and build support points, or to get stat boosters and boost my
Oh my
CCS
fucking
magic
god!
stats.
Thank you, Des.
Disgusting. I can't believe you said this.
But the idea is that when I do gardening in my house, I actually spend a lot of time doing flowers because I think it's just more fun and rewarding because it strips gardening away from all of the I may be able to get 2 zucchinis out of this than just being like, wow, my flowers are pretty, like
So yeah, when you put it like that, it sounds really therapeutic, like really relaxing. You're just doing it because it's fun.
Yeah, it is. I really like doing it. This year I'm growing morning glories. Like I was trying to grow chrysanthemums, but they didn't really work out so far right now. Marigolds and just like nice stuff. I'm really happy with it.
Yeah.
It's like playing it's like playing any of those farming games people like playing, but in real life.
Oh, yeah, okay. Such a brain rot thing you got going on there, Mushroom, but sure.
It's
sure.
fine.
Me when I walk around the street. Oh my god, this is just like in Genshin where you walk around the street.
No, shut up. No. Do you want to know the worst thought process I have ever had in my fucking life? One time I was
Yes.
at a pool party and I was looking at the pool and it was underneath the sun, and the only thought I came out of my mouth was, wow, the rendering for this water looks really nice.
Oh my goodness.
To be fair, water rendering is really hard to get right.
Yeah, and then there's another time I was like fucking driving by my local supermarket and I saw flowers in the ground, and that was a time during I was playing Animal Crossing, and my thought process was, should I park my car so I could just dig out that flower and bring it home?
I love it when we're so knee deep into a game that the mechanics of the game just integrate themselves into real life, and only after that do you realize, oh wait, I'm not playing.
You're like, oh my god, my brain is broken actually. JK.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let me just say 2 things before I forget. No, I mean, first of all, have you said everything you wanted to say? Sorry, I'm kind of jumping the gun.
Yeah, that's it. I don't have much. I kind of want to just dive into the story.
Okay, so the 2 things I have to say is, first of all, we've already done the episode with Sayome that we mentioned on the previous episode. So if you want to watch that, the link for that's going to be in the description. It's a really short smoking room. I haven't edited yet, but it's probably going to be like 40 minutes long. And second of all, if you've watched the last book club episode until the end, you know there's a really short trailer at the end. And then I thought, I'll post just the trailer after I post the episode. But then I forgot the trailer had spoilers. So the real MVP here is Horsefry, who commented, oh no, rest in peace, people who are still going through Umineko. Which was when I realized, holy shit, I just posted a spoilery trailer. And then I took it down as soon as I read the comment. So thank you very much, Horsefry.
But the trailer is so good though. I really like it. Why don't you just tag it that it has spoilers and just not like I love that trailer though. It's such a good trailer.
Thanks. It took quite some effort to make. I'm glad I'm not the only one liking it. Someone also commented saying it was a nice trailer, so it makes me happy knowing that.
But now does it just only exist in the end of the EP4 episode?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I enlisted it, so as long as you have the link, you can still watch just the trailer.
No, but is it like, did you tag it onto the end of the episode though?
I could do that. Like put a timestamp on the comments. Yeah, I could do that.
Yeah. Anyway, let's start talking about...
Umineko EP5, let's fucking go!
All right.
Congratulations, we're finally in the answer arcs, or scatter arcs as they call them.
Congratulations, everyone.
Congratulations. Where do we begin? Like,
Well, at the start.
halfway through a 120-hour trek. So nice work on making it this far. I don't know. It feels like finishing episode 4 was such a I don't know, journey. But now we're jumping into the beginning of the second half.
Yeah, I feel like we should have took a break or something between these two.
Why? Why would we take a break for? To make the book club last longer than it already is lasting?
True, that is very true. Oh my god.
Like, do you want the book club to take 5 years to make? It's already gonna take 4 years by the speed we're going.
I mean, honestly, I think we're like at a relatively good pace. Like we're consistent. We're still.
You think so? We've been posting an episode per month.
I don't know. Considering like, I mean, I have stuff going on in real life, but I'm still managing. So I'm just like, oh, okay, cool. And like, you know, you guys finished another school year.
We're trying our best, Des. Just don't be too harsh.
Yeah.
I'm not being harsh. I'm just stating it as it is. Like I'm not mad that it is going slowly. I just find it funny. Obviously, we're not gonna rush it if we don't have the means to post episodes faster.
True.
Like this is a thing we do on the side. I very much understand that.
Yeah, I wish we had more backlog episodes though.
Yeah, we will have. We already have the smoking room, and then we'll have this episode. So that will be 2 episodes.
Yeah, and then there's another episode that I still haven't fucking edited because it's fucking 3 years, not thousands of years now, and I will get around to edit it one day.
One of these days.
It's a good episode. I just want to edit it. Like, it's not because of any of those reasons. I feel like I just don't get into the editing mood or something, I guess.
Understandable. Well, let's jump in. So, beginning of episode 5, it starts off with the aftermath of the previous episode where Battler's left to deal with Beato's empty husk. If you recall, he basically murder-killed her on screen, kill cam, snuff filmed her, whatever you call it, and like, you know, turned her into a shish kebab. And she is no longer the Beato he once knew. He strives to find a way to release her from the game now that she's completely checked out. She's like dead-eyed, her hair's down, her iconic look is, you know, not there. She's a husk of the former Beatrice we once knew. And then Lambda jumps in and starts the 5th game as the game master. She and Byrne together taunt Battler a bit to get him to participate in the game, but he leaves in a huff and lets them play with the game board by themselves. In the Golden Land, Ronove informs Battler that the 5th grade... In the Golden Land, Ronove informs Battler that the 5th game that Lambda and Byrne are playing is a fucked up version of Beate's game. And that kind of motivates Battler to come back to check in, see what's going on, and restore to honor. He comes in just in time for the end of the game. Like, they blasted through the whole game in 2 minutes while it was taking us like 15 hours or so just to like...
It's your friend playing the game, Lorenzo.
I know, it's her. It really is.
Wait, sorry. Just on a really random note. Have your friend read Umineko yet?
She's Lone, the one who read Umineko / the... You know her. You follow her on Twitter.
Oh, okay, cool.
Okay.
She's done all of it.
I like the fact that you're just like, yeah, you know who she is. You follow her on Twitter. I'm like, what? I do?
No, you do. You do know her because we talked about her before. So he looks at the game board. Pieces everywhere. Barbecue sauce on my titty. The Twilight victims have been killed in horrible deaths. You know, they've been nearly decapitated. Like, all their deaths are really brutal. Like, you look at the menu screen and it says, man, she was literally torn apart by pterodactyls and also like stabbed in the eyes, and also they pulled her legs apart.
Actual get run over by a car and
like a wishbone.
What? Did we read the same EP5?
Well, no, that's like the point that's trying to be conveyed. There's like no love behind these murders, as the characters were saying. They're like, what the hell are you doing? You're not killing them with love. You know, hypocritical, or like, was it an oxymoron? We go on to the scene in Rokujima, and everybody's cornering Natsuki and accusing her of all these murders. And this blue-haired, actually looking girl points at Natsuki and calls her the culprit. And then the best opening in the whole game plays, Occultix Namajo.
Oh my god, Lorenzo, such a good taste.
It is the best one.
Is this Occulta Majo?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, good
like
song.
The cinematics, the song, chef's kiss.
True.
Here comes my unpopular opinion. I think Occulta Majo just sounds exactly as Science-Gate.
It is. It's made by.
Well, that's not an unpopular.
Yeah, I think it's the same vocalist, isn't it?
It is.
It's the same vocalist, but my point is like, I feel like when I think about Umineko openings, I like to think about like, you know, Umineko no Nakukoro ni, or even One Winged Eagle.
You know what, Mushroom? I knew you were gonna say that, so as I was listening to the opening while reading in preparation for this episode, I was already thinking what I would say in response, and all I have to say is yes, I agree. Our first opening is very iconic, but I just personally like the melody of EP5 better.
It's actually funny because do you know what opening that I actually really like?
The Inanna one?
I like Yes or No, Yes or No Dream.
I don't know which one that is. That must be one of those like random ass like PS4 openings.
Yes, it is one of those fucking random ass PSO openings, but it fucking slaps. So
I hate those openings because both for Umineko and Higurashi, whenever they port the games to a new console, they just make a spoilery opening that isn't even the opening for a specific episode. It's just the opening for the game itself before you even choose an episode, and it's just full of spoilers. Like, what the fuck? What's the point of spoiling?
yeah, I love the Saku opening. Literally, it's just such a spoiler opening. It just fucking sucks.
I hate it.
Glad you guys feel so strongly about it. But it is the best opening.
I have a lot of opinions just in general. That's why I'm on a fucking podcast.
Good.
I also feel very strongly about just the way EP5 starts. Both with the Beatrice best hits that literally opens the episode with like 3 flashbacks to the question arcs. Like
Oh, yes.
some of Beata's best moments. And then the actual start of the episode where, as you said, Erika just points at Natsuki and says, with the most calmest fucking voice, you are the culprit. And then the fucking opening drops. Like, oh my god, Ryukishi, you actually constructed the perfect start for an episode, right? No,
Yeah,
actually,
EP5 is written really tightly.
So after the opening, after this weird like new character shows up, we're flashback to the year, or yeah, around the year before Umineko's events in 1985-ish. Kinzo dies in his study, as confirmed by Nanjo, and Natsuhi does a stages of grief speedrun and is ready to tell Jessica and prepares to inform the rest of the family. Right? She's just like, oh my god, he's dead. Anyways, so she's about to tell everybody, or not everybody, but like, you know, she's ready to like move on and, you know, announce that the headship's going to go to Kraus now. And Kraus is like, wait, no, stop, don't do anything. He's sweating as Kraus used the inheritance to purchase NFTs and all of his apes are gone.
True! That's literally true. He was trying to go to the moon, but it didn't fucking work out.
fly me to the moon.
I know. We'll get there. We'll get there.
I cannot believe
He got his Luna coin.
Umineko predicted 2022. How could that?
Umineko predicted a lot of fucked up things.
So Natsuki chastises Kraus for being a dumb idiot bitch and falling for all these scams, in which he returns with lol ratio L plus you're a woman. I spelled your like Y-O-U-R. You're a women.
It's actually so funny how Natsuki's just trying so hard to tell Kraus he's so fucking dumb for not listening to her while trying not to overstep her boundaries.
Also, the music for this chunk is so funny because you could just it's playing the funny music while Kraus is like, and I fucked over everybody else in the house, and she's like, what?
I love it when Umineko does that.
It's Umineko flavored clown music telling you that the real clowns is us and the real clowns is him. We're all clowns.
The best kind of comedy.
Yes, it's so good.
Because this dude straight up signed away the Ushiramiya family's souls to like the Flying Dutchman, you know? They like all for an ape, all for a moon trip. So Natsuki asks her imaginary friend Kinzo for advice on what to do, and he introduces her to Beatrice. Natsuki stops being a piss baby and immediately strengthens her resolve after getting a pep talk from, you know, Beatrice. And she snaps back to reality, and she starts saying that Kinzo's still alive, and everybody except Kraus, because he's a little slow, immediately gets in on it. She says that as long as his death isn't reported, like no autopsy is filed, he'll be considered missing to everybody else. But in reality, he's just being a little sleepyhead, quote unquote. So Beatrice pops in to show Natsuki that they've revived Kinzo with magic with her, you know, her Beatrice pops in to show that with her help, Natsuki's revived Kinzo with magic, and now they'll both work as a team to protect the honor of the family. And now we're a little bit fast forward through the story. Again, confusing timeline shit.
Not as confusing as EP4.
Also true.
Because EP4 is actually just jumping all over the place. EP5 is just, you start a year before the family conference, then you go a little bit further.
And then it's the previous family conference before the Umineko family conference, 1985. And Natsuki, Kennen, Kinzo, and Beatrice are in the Rose Garden discussing how they need to keep Kinzo's image alive for the conference. And then you get some actual truth. Lambda and Burn ask Battler if he follows along with the chain of events so far, and he claims that Kinzo's been dead prior to the game's start in Red Truth. So he says for a fact, Kinzo's been dead. There's a bunch of people lying to keep his
image alive,
existence alive. So every time he's shown on screen, it's because everybody's in on this lie. And whoever he appears with are in. So,
cahoots.
Sorry, I have to. People who show up on screen with him are also in on the lie.
Nothing but lies. 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 Lies.
Thank you.
Shout out to Berkut.
Clap, 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 everybody.
Berna and Lambda congratulate him for sussing out the truth, as there wouldn't be room for a dumb explanation like a miracle drug that's letting Kinzo live or something, thus sustaining Knox's fourth law and preventing the story from becoming a dumb fantasy story about a virus infecting everybody and making them crazy.
And you're like, I wonder what's that about.
I cannot tell you how much I've waited for Knox to be introduced in this story. Like, goddamn, it's just like Bern says. Up until now, it's been fantasy versus anti-fantasy. Now it's fantasy versus mystery, because mystery has laws, and one of the laws is Knox, and we've just not been fighting with Knox. But more on that later.
And for a quick explanation, Knox's laws are basically like the rules that a good mystery story have to follow in order to...
A general guideline a mystery story should be following.
Otherwise, it's an ass pull or a fantasy story.
It's like a way to prevent cliches. Like, let's say you're writing an isekai story and you make your protagonist get isekai because he was run over by a truck. If there was a Knox for isekai, Knox would say, Knox first, the protagonist must not get isekai'd by a truck, because that's a cliche or something. Kind of along that vibe, right?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
I think my favorite Knox law is the fifth one about...
Isn't the fifth the censored one?
It's the one that's not included in the story.
Yeah.
It's very censored because...
Okay, actually, wait. I just saw on a random note, since we are talking about this, I will... So, the thing is like, the Knox log, which you can actually read about all the notes that come with a Knox log as well. And, the fifth one is the one about not including any Chinaman, right? That's the fucking thing.
Yes.
So, that's actually really fascinating, because the reason why that even exists is not because that he's racist or anything. It's about the fact that...
Because everyone else is racist.
What? Yes, it's like everybody else is racist. So, like,
what?
The reasons why you're not allowed to use it is because the whole idea of using... Like, you could be like, oh, like this person can't fit through a room, like nobody can. It's like, actually no, JK, this Chinaman, or like, okay,
I know a Chinese person, it's okay.
Just FYI, if everybody was listening this doesn't understand who I am, I'm fucking Chinese. Like, I'm not saying this because I'm fucking racist or anything. I'm literally just, it's just what the
literally last episode you said you were Asian and racist against Asians, and now you're claiming this.
Yes, that is actually true. I am racist and against Asians. Actually, I am an Asian foe. Like, I'm a foe against Asians. Anyway, sorry, let me continue. Basically, like, a Chinese person cannot exist in the story because lots of people use stereotypes of Chinese people being like, they are good with acrobatics and they are good with, like, small spaces, so they could just fit through this place and no other, like, I don't know, white people can fit through. And that's the whole idea. Like, that's why, like, that's actually not allowed in to him. That's not allowed because that's a racist stereotype. He wants people to stop using it. So actually he's not racist. So so it's actually what's trying to say is like no supernaturally elements could like exist. Like same idea is like, oh no, like voodoo or mysticism could exist either. Like because they're all like kind of like stereotypes of bad.
Okay, I must have misread the reason why the fifth Knox rule existed, because I was under the impression that the whole stereotype was about Chinese mafia, and because they would just have so much money that it would be kind of like a Deus Ex Machina to any mystery, because you get money, you can do anything with money.
No, you are thinking about Rose Gun Days.
Yeah, probably.
I like the acrobatics explanation because I remember distinctly when I was like in 3rd or 4th grade, we had a Chinese acrobat assembly where they were fitting through like keyholes and stuff, and I was like,
what?
Oh,
what? How? What? Fitting through keyholes?
No, it's hyperbole. They were just being contortionists, but it was very impressive. But they force them to do that when they're like newborns, so it's like interesting, cool.
Yeah, in hindsight, I don't know why I thought that wasn't a metaphor, but
But yeah, so that's Knox's Decalogue, as they call it, because if you follow his 10 commandments, you got a good mystery story, baby.
And believe it or not, this is not the full extent of what there is to say about Knox. I cannot hope to actually talk about Knox in full detail.
We will get there. And by establishing Umineko as a mystery, Knox's third comes into play, in which there are no hidden passages to the rooms where all the closed murders occurred. All the entries and exits were basically stated in the text. So they call these statements as stakes, which kill magic and witches, otherwise disproving magical explanations of things.
Yeah.
And Lambda is... as a reminder, Lambda's taking the fantasy side, Beatrice's position, with Byrne on the opposite side, the human side, and they comment on how Battler seems to be tiptoeing around uncovering the truth, which is kind of his way of solving Beato's mystery respectfully. So
wait, you said Beato was on the same side as Byrne?
No, Lambda. Battler is on the same side as Byrne, sort of, the human side.
Yes, the human side. I wanted to say something about the previous part.
Yeah, go for it.
It's just about the problem that Kraus now faces, because basically, if from my understanding, I don't understand much about this, so correct me if I'm wrong. He tried to borrow money, but because he didn't have enough money, he instead kind of sold both the house and the whole island.
Yeah, as collateral.
And if the person who he quote-unquote sold it to so wishes, they can just go and claim the house and the island. The reason they don't do that is just from trust. Like they had a gentleman's agreement, as Kraus calls it, right?
Yes.
He didn't sign a contract.
It is kind of like a verbal contract. And so that just puts in perspective the thing that happens in EP2, I believe, when the siblings gang up and try to make a contract with Kraus, which is, okay, we'll let you handle all the inheritance stuff. We'll let you stay as the head. We'll let you stay with Yawen, stay with the house, as long as you give us our portion of the inheritance. We'll let you do anything, and that way nobody will find out that you've been faking father being alive. But Kraus can't do that, because even though that literally solves his problem, which is not
getting exposed by his siblings.
Getting exposed, yeah. Even though that solves his problem, he just doesn't have the money to pay the siblings' inheritance.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't have jack shit, yeah.
Yeah. So literally the answer to his problem got handed over on a silver plate to him, but he just didn't have his part of the bargain to give.
No.
Which just puts the whole thing in perspective, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, it's really cool to basically get like even more insight. Like you thought like the siblings were financially fucked, especially Kraus, then you don't know even a lick of it until here.
You knew Kraus was also in need of money, but you thought it was just because he invested in something and now it actually didn't turn out well and he's losing money. No, he actually doesn't even have money to lose right now, basically. Mm-hmm. Just adds another layer to Kraus' situation.
Right. Because I think, I forgot if it was in this section or before, but when Natsuhi, Beatrice, and Kinzo are having, their imaginary pep talk, Kinzo said he couldn't technically really give all of his gold to Natsuhi and, like, solve all the problems. It was, they had to, work with magic to, push the family forward.
It is very interesting about how the whole Umineko talks about assets and money, and it actually has a very, very good idea of what is even allowed and what is not allowed.
Yes, exactly.
Also, I just wanted to say, Lorenzo, I remember you saying you really liked episode 5 because it's not his slice of lifetime.
Yes.
So how are you enjoying it?
It's great. She's like the best character. She's strong, independent, and I mean, she's I don't know, she's taking the reins. She was like all sad because Kinzo died, and then she's like, no, I have to make this happen. So we where are we? Oh, it's after the conference of 1985. So not the Umineko conference, but like the year prior to that. Conference is over. Everybody's been sent home. The siblings are a little flustered that they pissed off Kinzo so much that he refused to grant them audience with him.
Fools.
And in the Rose Garden, Natsuki and Beatrice have some celebration tea for keeping up the lie. They learn a little bit about Natsuki and Cross's origin story and how he showed her the world when they first got married, but it really just seems like he was that guy explaining to uninterested girlfriends me. And then Beatrice commends Natsuki's strategy to keep up the Kinzo illusion, and Natsuki jokes that Kumasawa is a bit of a witch herself with how she can fake her sick days, and Beatrice is like, oh, you better watch out. Her power level's actually over 9,000 with these with magic, you know? And we're back to Battler and Beato in the Golden Land. Beato's still being a sulking mess, and nobody can get a word out of her. Byrne comes along and tells Battler that it's all his fault that she's like this. He killed her soul, and now she's just an empty husk. And that Lambda's using some of her magic to keep Beato chained to the game, however. So then Byrne keeps talking to Battler. She says that if he has any compassion for her at all, he's got to kill her. It'll be like ripping nails out. Just make it a quick thing instead of pulling it slowly. The more they talk about disproving the magic theory in front of her, Beato takes a bit of psych damage. She like physically gets injured somehow, which is also not psych damage, but like both. She gets hurt in the fields.
True.
So they go to the scene with Natsuki and Beatrice in the Rose Garden post-conference. Byrne and Battler, they're like evaluating it, doing like a game analysis.
They're psychoanalyzing Natsuki right now.
Right. And Battler surmises that whoever Beatrice is in this scene could be an actual unknown character claiming to be Beatrice. But then Byrne comes in with the red truth and says that Natsuki's alone in this scene. And Battler realizes that exposing the truth like this is kind of makes the red truth sort of a weapon. And using it to pry into Natsuki's private life and time outside the game board is a bit gossipy. He feels kind of slimy for it.
Yeah, it's like if it's used just to push her own goal in the game, that's what Red Truth is meant for. But like using it outside of the context of trying to disprove or prove magic is just in very poor taste.
Yeah, so he dismisses the discussion on whether witches exist when they're not focusing on the events of, October 4th and 5th of 1986. He says it's not relevant. And the illusion of Natsuki x Beatrice in the Rose Garden crumbles away, and instead of having a nice discussion, Natsuki's actually alone in the Rose Garden.
Crying and shit.
Disheveled. Poor baby.
Yeah, she's just dead died. That's a really nice scene. I really like how it just so quickly and so
unceremoniously,
so dryly, it just swaps.
Yeah.
It's just like that. It's a hard cut.
Right.
It's very good. Like the abruptness is what really sells the scene to me.
Mm-hmm.
I do have to say this random thought since we have just passed it. The part where, the part where you get to see Natsuki and Kraus like traveling as like young people, like I find that scene really funny, and like it has the right amount of uncomfortable but also kind of sweet but also uncomfortable, if it makes any sense.
Right. It does very good characterization.
It shows how awkward they are as people.
Yeah.
So I appreciate it too. Any other thoughts before you jump into spoiler territory?
Yeah, I guess I just wanted to say that I really like this change in dynamics, because Butler goes from fighting Beato to respecting her as an opponent and even protecting her from Bern and Wamda. Like, he wants himself to be the only one to injure her, because he will only do so when absolutely necessary, and he will do it as swiftly as possible so that not to hurt Beato more than he actually needs to, more than absolutely necessary. And then it turns that this shift of Butler's stance was actually all part of Wamda's plan from the beginning. Like, it was all part of Wamda's plan to make Butler all soft, to make him not give it his all. And meanwhile, because of that, Bern goes from your ally to your opponent as well, because now Bern is just fighting, giving it her all, while Butler doesn't want to be that cruel. So it's really fun.
Interesting.
Oh, a few little fun details.
Yeah.
It says that like Kraus is very different from his father in that way. Like, that Kraus really likes East Asia and just Asian things. While, like, this man is a crazy obsessed with, like, it's a Western. He's a weeb before, like, the West.
He's a reverse weeaboo.
So then that comes up a lot because it just, he enjoys, like, he takes, Natsuki on all these like really fun trips, and they're like having a great time, and probably the best time Natsuki had before she just lived on the island forever and ever. But I just find I like it. It's like I feel like it's hard to make Kraus even likable at that point after you read everything about his Luna coins and his NFTs and his apes that all disappeared. But like, I feel like that scene actually gives him a more of a humanity in a way of being like, yeah, at a point he was a dumb romantic and he really liked Natsuki, and even if their fucking marriage seems like it's failing, which it is, they live, I'm pretty sure, like, because they're very conservative and old fashioned, but like also they don't sleep in the same room. They haven't been sleeping in the same room for like,
yeah, that's also something I don't understand. Why they don't sleep in the same room? Why they have separate rooms? That just feels very weird.
Because he hates her.
Like, even if their marriage is crumbling, we know how the Shiromiya family is all about facades and appearances. Gotta keep those up. So even during the family conference, they sleep in different rooms. So you'd think at least during the family conference they would sleep in the same room, but they don't. So I don't really understand what's going on there.
I have some ideas about that. So I think, like, how Kingzo is and how Kingzo hates his wife. My wife, I hate her. Type is like, I imagine he never slept in the same room as his wife. So like, I imagine that's just something that's very accepted in the Ushiromiya family, where like women are less valued and they are also not on the same, like, I imagine it's like, oh yes, I have my own personal like room. It's like, and you don't like, I mean, like, lots of Japanese or like lots of stories are like, even when people are married, they sleep on separate beds or something.
I see.
Even they're in the same room.
I see.
I don't know. I find that kind of fascinating.
That does sound more healthy, to be honest, because every time I hear couples talking about sleeping together, they're all just very moody about it, because either the other person keeps kicking them or they keep snoring and they're just very tired of it all. Maybe they should sleep in separate rooms. Maybe that should be the norm.
Yeah, honestly speaking, yes, I agree. I think I am a person that's really warm, and one time I had to sleep next to my roommate's cat. And because my roommate is like, oh, my cat's gonna be really lonely, you should sleep in my room when I'm gone. So I went to sleep in her room, and I'm just like really, really warm. And then the cat just kept trying to warm her body underneath my hand. And I'm like, you are warm and fuzzy, and I'm so hot. I cannot sleep. So I kept trying to push her, and then she just kept thinking I'm trying to play with her, and I'm like, oh, whatever, I'm just gonna go to sleep now.
Never marry a cat. That's the
exactly. Never marry a cat. That's
the only reason why you should not do that.
So, is there anything else in the unspoiler section?
Surreal as it may seem, no, I have no more thoughts for the non-spoiler section.
I have two more thoughts.
Go for it.
First thought is,
okay,
the reason why I told Dubs that I don't want him to read, don't want him to keep reading, is because of this section. So, for example, like, I was really impressed when I was watching 80% Relatable, where they basically came up with a theory about the KDA, which is the King's Dead Alliance, and they just guessed around who it is, and they came up with a pretty coherent list. And like, because they walked into EP5 with such like great like tight theories, their theories got paid off like immediately, like, or they're like, it gets confirmed or denied, and I feel like that's so much more satisfying than if you didn't actually spend that much time thinking about it.
Sorry, KDA, like the
yeah. They call it the KDA, and every like
League of Legends K-pop group.
No,
I feel like everybody who was on the podcast who heard them say it like mentioned it. It was like, yeah, like the League of Legend group, like
Queens. Love that for them. So cultured. Just kidding. Don't play League of Legends. My friend showed me a tweet. It says, they say to be nice to all your interns, but what if they have Valorant voice? So, because sometimes you can like tell a lot from somebody's Valorant voice.
Jesus Christ.
I digress.
Yeah. So, is there anything else in the non-spoiler section we want to mention?
No.
I have nothing but. So
But.
are we ready to move on?
Yes.
And but. I just said but for no reason. All right, cool. Well, if you have not read past this point, which I really don't think anybody has, hopefully not, but fuck
What?
off, respectfully. No, just kidding. I mean, if you're in this far, I'm sure like at this point you probably finished Umineko before we even like, got to this part in our recordings.
Well, you know what? On the last episode, we actually got a comment from a viewer who did say, hey, I actually started listening to you before I finished Umineko. So there's at least one person who watched the spoiler-free section without having fully read Umineko.
Oh, okay. So,
That's really impressive. Thank you so much for sticking with us.
yes, I truly mean it.
I honestly don't know how you would pick us as your preferred way of companionship, but I'm very glad.
I know. We appreciate it. But now, in all seriousness, fuck off now. Well, tune in next time to our next spoiler-free discussion in the next chunk of episode 5. But if you... I can't think words right now, but...
You can do it!
Catch you next time. See cats, do crimes. Let's move on to spoiler discussions.
See ya!
Tune out.
Welcome to the spoiler discussion,
Okay.
where we will cushion this. I don't know.
EP5 is just, I think I still count EP5 as kind of like a question arc.
You think so?
Okay.
With all the answers given?
Okay, no, I do think so, but like it's still structured more like an question arc at this point than like an answer arc. Because like, when you get to EP6, it's like they completely destroyed the structure of the story, kind of.
Okay, that's true.
Like at least this is told more like still like a question arc. But like, it still has lots and lots of answers. But yes, let's continue.
Yeah, I'll move this to the spoilery part. I think it's better.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Fair.
And the other thought I have is that like EP5 is really, really good at immediately start giving you answers. Like
Yeah.
EP5 basically is like, it's structured as much like a question arc like EP3 is structured like a question arc. Because like, unlike Higurashi, which, does question and answer arc too obviously, if that makes any sense. Like, I feel like there's some episodes of like Higurashi that's better than others, but like,
What a take.
I'm sorry. But like, for example, the one Onikakushi arc, I feel like is just told in a way that's like a little bit too straightforward. The answer and question version.
What?
No, Onikakushi. The one.
Do you
where
mean
it's-
Watanagashi and Miyakashi?
Yes. Like I think that's like I think it's fun on the first read, but it's not as deep as when you read it a second time. You're like, oh, you should have done a better setup. Like Umineko's question arc and answer arcs.
Is what you're saying that Higurashi's answer arcs actually tell you the answers, while Umineko's answer arcs, maybe you have to read the answer arcs a second time to actually get the answers?
Yes, correct. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, as in the answer arcs are not direct answers, but they're direct references to answers. Like, for example, like the whole setup about Natsuki's imaginary friend game is an answer. It's not the direct answer to tell you like what it is, but it gives you lots and lots of hints about lots of characters that you're like, that if you knew where to look and you knew what your questions were, you have been given your answer.
Yeah.
But if you don't even have the questions in the first place, then how would you possibly know that just that you found that out?
I like that idea. So it's more like it's less answer arcs and more hint arcs.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why people don't like the wording of answer arc, because people don't believe the fact that EP4 is actually like question arcs or answer arc, because they're not answering you anything. Like, I feel like because of the fact that people think it has a lot to do with answering, they get really mad and go on Reddit and write stupid fucking posts about how they're like, oh, but Umineko didn't give me any answers. And I was like, it did. I feel like a lot of people don't think about the implications of if what happens when like Umineko, if like Kingzo's alive or Kingzo's dead, like what is the implication? Like people don't think about it, because if you start thinking about the implications, you can think about like, oh, so is this person in the cahoots or that, or like if this, and then like a lot of things like it can make more sense how anybody lies and why any of these things happen. But most times when I read people like thoughts, I'm like, people didn't think about it, so then it just doesn't work. Like, and if you came to EP5 with all of that questions and who gets to know what, like you just got your answered, and if you didn't think about it, you just know more information, and you're like, I guess I get it now. I don't know. I feel like it's kind of hard to get enjoyment out of Umineko if you weren't actively engaging with the story, which Ryukishi talks a lot about.
Yeah, I agree.
I just wanted to say, like, the opening straight up shows the island exploding. I'm like,
Yes!
what the fuck? I did not catch on to that.
I did not realize it. Only after finishing Umineko, someone told me, hey, did you know the island explodes in EP5 opening? And I'm like, what the fuck?
Right?
Literally the worst.
I think that's a very nice thing hidden in plain sight.
Yes.
Well, I mean, yeah, but then there's a lot of things that's just in plain sight.
Fair.
Oh, I do want to say, while I don't like a Katomajo that much, which, is my very hot take, I do think I love, I do have to say I love Sans Undertale Furura Erica. It's very funny. It cracks me up every single time when I see
He
it.
predicted Undertale? I can't believe this.
No, did you? No, she's talking about the video on YouTube. That's just a rap battle between Fururo Erika and Sans Undertale.
No, in the opening.
No. I'm talking about the part where...
No?
Yeah, he has a blue eye, or she has a blue eye.
Yeah,
that,
she has a
like,
blue eye.
Oh!
goes Sans Undertale mode.
Like, it's in the video. If you watch her, she shows up and then she gets
Yes.
a blue eye.
Yes, she
and
does.
I'm like, what the fuck? What is the Sans Undertale? So it's okay. On another random section, so Dubs is a humongous fan of
He's
Undertale,
in Among Us? What?
Oh, Among Us?
and I keep being like, hey, I'm really excited for you to get to the Sans Undertale and Ben Shapiro of Umineko. And he's like, why do you keep saying that? And I was like, I wonder if he thinks that they're two different people or like the same person. But I'm like, yeah, the Sans Undertale.
You should ask Dubs. You should ask Dubs to draw what he thinks the character looks like.
The Sans. I just think that's so funny. And, my favorite meme of all time, I know we haven't gotten that much Erica content yet, but I love just like everybody making fun of the fact that Erica is Ryukishi's predicament of debate bros. Like, like she's like,
Yeah.
like Ryukishi fucking willed Ben Shapiro into existence, and the existence. It's just so funny.
But Erika is really competent. It's just that Umineko is too much for her.
I guess so. I just love the picture where it's just Ben Shapiro standing next to Erica. It's like, it's also because Ben Shapiro is just really short. But I'm sorry. That's a digression. I do have to say I like the structure of EP5 better. No matter how much I love EP6, I think it's kind of stupid to show the wedding scene in the very beginning of EP6.
Yes.
Unlike EP5, which I think the showing of Erica is perfect because it actually makes in-game reason. But EP6 doesn't actually make any sense because I feel like it just doesn't work as well, like, if that makes any sense. And I feel like if there wasn't a part where it tells you, like, if it wasn't a part that tells you, oh, there's going to be a fucked up wedding happening in the end of EP6, you might actually go through EP6 feeling more of a twist where you're like, oh, and then Balor gets bamboozled. But, like, knowing that, like, the wedding exists, you're just, like, waiting for that to drop instead of,
Yeah.
not knowing.
But we can talk more about that when we get to EP6.
Yeah, I have so much thoughts on EP6.
In June next year.
Yes, next year. But yeah, what else is another part that you really like in this reading? Yes, our local Natsuki lover. Do you have any thoughts about the Natsuki parts?
She's an absolute queen. I mean, except the last part where the facade fades away in the rose garden and she's actually just like by herself. I'm like, oh man, this is just like, I don't know. It's almost like it is a trope, right? Where it's like the fantasy / reality sort of reveal.
Yeah, it's like the expectation versus reality meme.
Yeah. So like, no wonder she has all those headaches. She's been trying to keep up this lie for so long, but she was really good at maintaining it. And it's like that scene where she's straight up like, no, he's actually alive. That's I feel like there's another movie that did exactly that. It was something like...
There's probably a lot of movies that did tricks like that.
Weekend at Bernie's. Just kidding.
I just like how she does it.
Speaking of Natsuki and Beatrice, do you think Natsuki was sitting there actually imagining herself having this conversation with Beato, or do you think that was just meta world retroactive writing?
She was talking to Canon, or like, Sayo disguised as Canon, but talking as Beatrice.
Oh, and telling them about the trip she had with Kraus?
I think it's okay. Wait. Say your part first, and then I will say my part.
I don't have an answer that I believe is right. I just think there's these two options, which is Natsuki sitting there imagining herself having this conversation line by line with an imaginary Beatrice, or she's just sitting there reflecting on her life, and then because the story is being woven in the meta world, they just retroactively write this fantasy in. Because it fits what Natsuki is going through, even if she's not actually imagining this conversation happening. It fits.
I say too. I think it's meta narrative retroactively writing it in.
Okay, and you think it's her imagining it, Lorenzo? Is that what you said?
No, I think she's reminiscing. She's like, because what was it? She was. What brought on the conversation was they were having that imported tea, and Natsuki's like, I remember when Kraus took me out places. And I think she was just reminiscing on that, how did it end up like this, right? She was keeping up a lie to maintain this, power struggle within her uber rich family she married into. And she was just thinking about when they first got married, well, they didn't have a chance to date. It was kind of like an arrangement, right? So she was thinking about the very, very beginning of the relationship where Kraus was, over explaining things, mansplaining things to her, and she was just like, yeah, I don't know anything else except you, honey.
Also, stop forcing me to eat this thing that I don't want.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I mean by that's the perfect amount of awkward, but also kind of cute, but also very, very fucking weird. It's like, man, please stop forcing her to eat this.
Yeah, so she's just thinking about it. I think it does happen, but again, this is the scene where they're like, hey, let's not use red truth or gossip about her. Let's focus on, what happened on the island on 1986, right? Because at this point, it seems like Burns using it to paint Natsuki as this miserable wretch, right? Because it's all a setup to show what happens with the baby, right?
Yes.
Here's before. It's look at her. She's just a sad sack of shit. And now just look at her. This is why she would be the culprit in episode 5.
I forgot that was gonna happen.
Oh, EP5 is gonna go down, and they're gonna fucking accuse Natsuki of sleeping with Kingzo. So be ready.
Yeah,
get it.
Yeah. Well, speaking of romantic relationships, I also really like Butler throwing a tantrum and saying he will fight nobody but Beato, because that really contributes to the whole enemies to lovers thing they got going on.
Yeah, I think it's actually really funny because I forgot how much of a little baby EP5 Battler is. He's just like, I'm not gonna go onto your board, and then Lambda is like, are you sure you're not gonna come here? We're gonna be finishing up, and then he just shows up in the last minute. It's like
he just shows up at the end. I really like that part about DB5 structure. It's just that you start at the end and then you go back to the beginning.
Yeah, and it also has an in-universe reason why it starts at the end, and the reason is it's the story's almost done, but Ballard just started to come in.
It's just fine, we'll watch the whole season from the start so you can catch up. But
I actually have a few thoughts about that. This is my meta world thoughts about Ikuko and Toya. Is I imagine this is because after what happened in EP4, writing EP4, I think Toya stops writing for a bit, and so Ikuko writes the whole thing, and then Ikuko basically shows Battler at the very end, and or shows Toya this at the very end. So that's where Toya reads it and then starts going through the story again.
Nice, and that's also why it has no love, because it was only Ikuko solo running it. I like that.
Yeah, actually, on the flip side, I don't know how much you remember the setup of EP6. But the setup EP6 is, it's Ikuko or Ikuko / Featherine inviting Angel to come read the story to her.
Yes.
And the whole time they're reading the story with her, like, you know, Ikuko says that, or not Ikuko, Featherine says that she wrote the story, basically. You know, like, she's like, oh, you're here because I wrote the story and I want you to read it to her. But the way how they talk about the whole time, like, Featherine is, like, reacting, or she's like, I have a theory what's gonna happen. So, like, it's like she has never actually read the story or something, or she didn't write it. So I feel like that's on the flip side. EP6 is more of Battler's writing, so it's Ikuko reading it for the first time and reacting to it.
Life's work, Cam. I like that. We'll see how it turns out when we get to EP6, but I like the premise.
Yeah, of course. But you get the idea.
Yeah, I like it. Well, speaking of, since we're already on this, at the end of the episode, Butler will solve everything. So, if he will solve everything at the end, why isn't there a world where Butler goes back to Angie? And tell me if you disagree, but I think it's because Butler solving the episode in the meta world would be the correlation to Game Board Butler solving what's going on, preventing the murders, stopping the bomb, and then being able to go back to Angie once the storm ends.
I don't understand your question because I don't believe in multi-world.
Multi-world?
Sorry,
No. We're talking about possibilities here. Like, why didn't even if Butler Game Board Butler solved the epitaph and the murder mystery and stopped everything from happening, prevented the mysteries, even if he did that, why would he not be able to return to Angie? And I just think that's because even if he solved it, he would have solved it too late to actually prevent it, because Meta World Butler does solve it at the end of EP5, but by that point, Beato is already dead, because Beato died, quote unquote, died at the end of EP4. So he solved it too late, and that would, if there's any possibility of Game Board Butler solving it in the game board, he would have solved it too late to actually prevent anything. So that's why it still happens.
Yeah, I also agree. This is actually a funny argument that I recently had on the ADPR Discord, is about I feel like the idea of just being like Battler's incompetent is like a very specific type of story beat, where that is not only, it's for a few reasons, because Battler's incompetent not because it's like, oh, he's a dum-dum and he doesn't know anything, is that no matter how Battler does it, he will never be able to stop the murders in time, I think. In like, no matter how many times it will ever make the game board run, he will never be able to prevent the murders. Like, people will die, and, you know, maybe somebody will escape, and but like, Battler will never be able to prevent the murders. And if this is talking about like multiple fragment instead of, you know, talking about real world implications or anything. And so I think that applies to the Battler's incompetent. But the reason why we were even having the argument in the first place is because people like to I don't fucking believe EP6 is not a setup. Like, EP6 is absolutely Battler's setup. And if people don't believe that, they clearly just don't remember EP6, or they're just blind.
Butler setup? What do you mean? Butler is the game master?
No, the whole closed room murder. How he was trapped into logic error. That's a setup. That's Battler set that up.
A setup for what?
Like,
Battler... he set himself into the closed room?
Yes.
Okay, interesting. I'll have to see when I get there. I don't remember EP6 that well.
Yeah. And I just wanted to mention that, because I think, and people like to cite like, oh, but because like, how could Battler set that up? Because isn't EP2 say Battler's incompetent? And I was like, yeah, because the Battler's incompetent referenced the fact that like, he never solves Beatrice's thing when, like, you know, right before she dies on the island in real life. And also, you know, he doesn't solve it in time in the story we read, like in the stories we read, and then on the other game board. So like, those are the fact that he's incompetent, not because he can't fucking write a goddamn story, which he already know the answer for. I don't know, it makes me so mad.
And also, if what Mushroom just said isn't enough to convince you, the red truths are tied to the moment they are said. So that truth came out in EP2.
Yeah.
And Butler did that whole thing in EP6. So there's 4 episodes of distance from the moment red truth was said to the moment the closed room happens.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So yes, Des, what else do you have thoughts?
What else do I have? Well, you know how much I like to talk about Bern and her shift in going from absolutely apathetic to the meanest person in the world.
Uh-huh.
First of all, I think she liked seeing Angie just fucking dissolve into minced meat, but I think she was also kind of mad because we brought this up in the episode with Sayome. You weren't there, so I'm gonna tell you what it was. There's basically no way for Butler to reason out that there is a bomb. Maybe if he wild guessed, but there isn't anything that he can use as a hint to reason out that there is a bomb. So the only way he could know there is a bomb is if Angie, who is from the future, would tell him about it. That's the whole reason why Angie is such a good piece, is because she has information that there's no way Butler could possibly get. But she died before telling that information to Butler. So Butler is kind of nerfed right now, and that kind of sours Bern. So I think Angie's and Butler's incompetence, or at least slowness in solving the mystery, kind of inspired her to when she's creating Erika, because she goes all out. She goes absolutely all out creating Erika.
It burns OC, do not steal.
So I think just the fact, because at the end of the security party of EP4, we see that she gets really into it. I think that's because she realizes there's a lot that she can do to fuck with Beato and Butler now that now that she's kind of sour towards them. So she realizes there's a lot she can do to fuck with them. And once she gets the opportunity to create Erika, she creates the Erika we know. And that's when she starts getting really into the game, getting really interested in the game. It's when she realizes she can just play with the heartstrings of these people in this game in the most cruel way possible.
Yeah. It was also going to say, for the whole thing about Burn, is that Burn really fucking went wild with the whole, now I'm going to double down playing my game, because another thing about that is that, you know, she misunderstood the nature of the game. Like, to her, what she wanted to see is she wanted to see, like, Beatrice's heart get torn to bits and pieces, and, like, you know, in the most brutal way fashion possible. And Battler, she even, like, I think, like, she even hints about this later, where she's like, I made him see all these cruel things, and I wanted him to, like, fucking suffer so that he could, like, destroy her. And then, like, and then how it just ended up being the sappy tale, or, like, Battler being so protective of Beatrice. He's like, I have fucking no idea how that happened. She's, like, so fucking mad about it.
Yeah, that's like Butler's hidden ability, is how confrontational he is and how much of a contrarian he is. Because he's so cruel towards Beato, but then the moment someone other than him is fighting Beato, he just changes sides. Like, this man is...
He's like, I'm the only one that gets to shit on her. Nobody else gets to shit on her.
Yeah, he's so rash and naive, but also such a sweetheart. Butler is such a great protagonist.
Very good.
So cool. Speaking of Bern, because Butler is kind of like, as we know, going soft on Beato, so Bern, to fire Butler up, is like, whoa, have you forgotten? You got Angie, you gotta go back to her. There might be a fragment where you go back to her, Butler, don't stop fighting. And as we know, for us people who have finished Umineko, there isn't a single fragment when that happens. So I wanted to ask you, do you think Bern already knows this and she's just lying, or has she simply not yet searched the whole sea of fragments? Because we know by EP7 she has...
as in, like, do you think... I don't... So this is gonna be really random thoughts, because I don't really know how, like, the Umineko fragment searching works. Like, do you just be like Control F, does Battler live? Like, or, like, all of that. But, like, I honestly speaking don't really understand how she could search it, because, you know, in EP7, she talks about how she's like, yes, I went large and far to go find this fragment where, you know, you get to live a happy life, but murder is still gonna happen. But this is my personal thought. I think the reason why she knows that there's not going to be a ending where Angel, like, lives with Battler again is because that's out of the cat box. Only reason why fragments could work is that like, because it's inside of the cat box, so there's gonna be infinite possibilities. But, like, everything outside of the cat box, it just, like...
That's really interesting, because then what you're saying is she knows what happens up until the moment when Butler with the island. Because maybe there is and there actually is, we know, a fragment where Butler does with the island, but as we also know, that does not equal being there for Angie.
Yes, correct.
That's interesting.
So, like, for example, like, that's also why I think like Leon could work, because you could say, like, you know, maybe Leon is a character that always lived on the island and never left the island, is just like being brought up by the family, and you know, they just, you know, but like their existence is possible to exist because, you know, everybody still dies.
Yeah, because Catbox, the ending is the same regardless of what happens inside.
Yeah, correct.
Yada yada yada.
Yeah.
But even so what you're saying is it is possible that Bern has already searched all of the Sea of Fragments by AP5.
She doesn't have to. That's my point.
Yeah, that's where I was gonna get, because I think if I can settle on her having searched the whole of Sea of Fragments, like all of the fragments by P7, but I don't want to believe she has by P5, because she would be kind of spoiling herself on the story that she's trying to solve, and I don't think she would do that.
Yeah, I don't think... Yeah, exactly.
It's fine by P7, because by P7 she has already gotten the trick. She already understands what happened, but not by P5.
Yeah, not by EP5. Even if there is answers in the Sea of Fragments, it actually doesn't give you that much. For example, we haven't even got to this part yet, but when Battler and Erica is trying to solve the epitaph, like Bernkastel talks about how she peered around to go look at all the fragments that exist to go find out what the answer for the epitaph is, and like the answer, like the none of the fragments actually explain how the epitaph like is solved. They just find enough clues that they're just like, okay, now we can piece together to solve the epitaph. And also because, you know, lots of thought processes of the characters don't actually get said out loud in that way. So I imagine, like, they just read it and they're just like, and then she ran over to go read a book. Like, and then she was like, what's the book she read? She read an atlas. It's like, what pages was she looking at? Not sure. Like, I just think, like, that's kind of funny to me that way.
Okay, I have one last thought regarding this part. Then I have other thoughts that I wanted to mention if we have time. It's just things that I forgot to mention on other episodes.
Sure, go for it.
My last thought for this part is just that, as we know from Confession, Kinzo died right after Sayo solved the gold and announced it to him. So, but then we see EP5 places us right after Kinzo dies and Sayo isn't there. So possibly, you know, because finding out solving the epitaph, finding the gold, figuring out all of your background is a lot to take in, and then Kinzo just dies not only in front of you but because of you. Probably Saya just ran out of the study and then they just didn't go get her back because they understood Saya was going through a lot right now. So then when Natsuki and Kuraos are summoned to the study, Sayo simply isn't there because he just ran out to try to process what just happened. And then later on, Genji probably convinced Natsuki to tell Shannon and Kanon about it too, so they could be part of the alliance.
Oh, because of, like, are you trying to say that, like, Kinzo died in front of Sayo?
Yeah, that's what happens in Confession.
Does it?
Yeah, Kinzo sees Sayo in Beato's dress, and then he just fucking collapses.
I mean, I think he collapses, but I don't think he dies there.
I think it's pretty heavily implied, because I think the panel right after that is just saying, yo, Kinzo is dead. And then it's Natsuki crying or something.
Yeah, but, like, I feel like it's the type of thing where he, like, fucking loses it and then he fucking dies. Like, it doesn't have to be like this.
Okay, could be. Yeah, could be.
I mean, okay, I think would be really funny for Sayo being like, oh, fuck, this man is dead and now I'm trapped in this gigantic dress. How the fuck am I gonna leave? And they're like, leave and then we'll go tell Natsuki about this.
I think she just ran out of the room. She didn't, like, if Kinzo died right there, I don't think she would ask, yo, can I leave? She would just leave.
No,
but that's also a possibility that he didn't die there. Yeah, that's a possibility, I guess. I didn't factor that in. I really thought Kinzo just died right there. He just saw Beato and had an heart attack.
I mean, it would be really funny, but at this point, we use Confession as more of a guide instead of a, answer sheet.
Yeah, see, that's... once again, why do we not like Confession? Precisely because it gives all the answers, and it just tunnel visions you.
But I like, yeah, but but the problem is I like half of fucking Confession. Confession Confession is good. Like, I like Confession and I like how it's written. I just wish it didn't also just fucking go in and drew fucking extra ass panels about like, this is how I did everything. I was like, you didn't fucking even do EP3. Like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, like I think confession should exist if it only had the parts about how Sayo feels about things. It did not have to answer the mystery.
No, it did not.
Like how the closed rooms are done.
Yeah,
and all that.
yeah. I feel like Confession needed to accomplish one of those things and not both of them at the same time. Like I think Umineko giving emotional answers is good, but Umineko giving answers that's just like, here, actually, and this is what they thought, and I'm like, no, fuck off. Why did you do this to me, Nukishi, you piece of shit?
Yeah. Oh, another thing that I really wanted to mention, Bern just decides to drop a red truth here. And as we know, Bern is on the mystery side, and we know the red truth is a part of a play to be done by the witch side. But Bern can just do it because he's just so confident on her interpretation in that it's all illusion that she can just say it, and then it turns out red, and she doesn't choke. Unlike Butler in EP4, when he's trying to confirm his identity.
Oh, so you think she doesn't even, like, she just knows, she's like, this woman's faking it. I don't even have to fucking check. I'll just say it.
Yeah, and then I just wanted to clarify something, which is, theoretically, Butler could do the same and just trial and error his way through the mystery, but that would be cheating, and that's why he doesn't do it.
Interesting.
Are we in agreement on that?
I guess so. I think the reason why Byrne could say the truth of that scene is because Byrne is a witch and Byrne understands how witches operate, so she could just say it. Like, she knows that it's fake. Like, and she knows exactly how the trick is done.
Could also be.
I mean, it is said in Umineko, like, you know, you could just say red truth whenever you if you know that, like, if you are just willing to say it, you could say it out loud. But, like, I feel like it should be slightly more sophisticated than just, let's just say a bunch of things and let's see which one of them turn out to be red.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. I only have 2 more thoughts left.
Go for it.
From those that I should have said in other episodes. So I realized, like, when we were in EP4, I said, EP4 is really hard because Ryukishi confined the detective to a room. And then, as I was editing, I realized, wait a minute, Butler also isn't exploring the mystery in EP3. In EP3, Butler is also just confined, not to a room, he's confined to the guest house, but he's still not going around solving and analyzing anything until the end of the episode. So I think the real difference between EP3 and EP4, what really makes EP4 stand out from the other episodes, is actually just how wild the fantasy narrative is. Because in EP3, the fantasy narrative is very clearly extremely tied to what's actually happening on the game board. And I think in EP4, it's really just kind of bullshit. Mm-hmm. Most of it, at least. I don't think there's much of a tie there. At least from our attempts at solving EP4, we couldn't come up with a theory that's like 100% everything that happens on the fantasy has a correlation to the game board.
Yeah.
Maybe we're just incompetent.
I like reading other people's, like, explanation of EP4, but, like, none of the other people's explanation of EP4 at that point even tries to account for the white text.
We tried to, but even trying to, we couldn't come up with something that's 100% correlated. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if that's just us not having what it takes, or if it really is just EP4 just doesn't have as much of a correlation as the other episodes do. Because EP4 is very experimental in many ways, both in the structure, jumping forwards and backwards in the timeline, also in the fact that the protagonist changes for half the episode, and the fact that the actual mystery is only the second half. And I guess so I guess it would be in line with that, just the fact that it's also experimental in the sense that the fantasy narrative isn't that tied to what actually happened on the game board. It's just going wild.
Okay. I have another thought that's related to the question and answer arc thing.
Okay.
My other thought about this is actually that Umineko's question and answer arcs are set up in a way that instead of being like, this is a hard answer to the previous arc or anything, it's about reference and themes. So, like, for example, EP1 is about how Natsuki is the only one alive and she is the one who basically tries her best to save all the kids, and she has a confrontation with Beatrice. And that theme is basically reintroduced in this EP, where, you know, she's kind of doing a similar thing with, like, her trying to fight against everybody, and she's the sole person who understands like what's happening with like Kingzo.
And she's also trying to protect the family, like she does in EP1.
Yes, and she's also trying to protect the family, but in a different way that she has done in EP1.
Yeah.
And another thing about that is I love the idea of Natsuki and Beatrice as a like partnering couple, like not like couple, but like partnering force, because like it's really fascinating to know that like, we all know that Sayo is Beatrice, and Sayo is technically supposed to be, in a way, Natsuki's child that she never wanted.
True.
And it's interesting that she embraces a fictional Beatrice in the way, like, in a way that's meta-narratively written, but, she pushed away, like, the person in her life.
Literally. Figuratively and literally.
Figuratively and literally. And that's really interesting. Like, like, it's crazy to see that, like, Natsuki, as a person who always has rejected the witches and demons and like all that, and like later on you learn that she's actually a Shinto priestess, like that she came from a like family of Shinto priestess, and then it's just like funny that like that's like she resorts into that point in her life because she has nothing else that she can cling on to.
Yeah, I guess another funny little correlation between EP1 and 5 is that in EP1 her main opponent is the witch, the leader of the fantasy side, and then in EP5 her main opponent is the detective, the main head of the mystery side.
Yeah, there's a lot of very cute like call and response, and also now we get to see what's the facade behind like in EP1 she goes talk to like Kingzo, and she's like, Kingzo, thank you so much for like giving me words of wisdom. And now we get to see the rest of the scene, and you're like, oh shit, she's just fucking imagining.
She's coping real hard.
Yeah, imagine having Kingzo as your imaginary friend, like the worst kind of imaginary friend.
Yeah, but it really goes to show you how deprived of any kind of praise she is when she has to imagine Kingzo of all people praising her.
Yes.
Must be really hard imagining that, but I guess that's
exactly
the one person she wants to be acknowledged the most from. Who's
also just a misogynistic asshole who's dying of alcoholism.
Like Kingzo would ever acknowledge you.
Yeah, exactly. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
That's
my last thought is going back to the whole discussion we had on the previous episode about is Butler actually able to kill the witch or not. I'm not gonna get back into that whole thing because that's a whole discussion that will take a lot of time. But in EP5,
yeah, we have to keep talking about it until we get to EP6, probably.
Yeah, probably. But I just wanted to mention the shackle that we find out about in the start of EP5, which is essentially the Delta explains to us that there's actually 4 ways for this game to end. Either one of the sides surrenders or one of the sides wins. And what the shackle is that it disables Beato from surrendering. So I think what that would mean is that at the end of EP4, Beato was going to accept the wrong answer, but the shackle prevented her from accepting the wrong answer. So regardless of whether that would actually kill her as a witch or not, that's what makes Butler not win the episode. So even when Butler is about to win, he loses.
Yes, correct. And also I would have to say, I really like the fact of the shackles, because the shackles is the perfect allegory for the fact that Beatrice gets shackled when she drowns. It's because she loses her will to live.
Fuck.
So yeah, boy, I love imageries, drowning imageries. Amazing.
Well, I'm glad I managed to sweep away all the thoughts that I had from previous episodes. That's the end of them. I have nothing else to say. Do you have any more thoughts, Mushroom and Lorenzo?
No, I think we hit enough. Lorenzo, are you still doing IRL thinking right now?
No, I'm listening contently. I honestly have nothing much to say that you guys already haven't covered.
Okay, nice.
So, shall we?
We shall.
This is the end of our first episode of episode 5. It was a good run. Nice discussion points, and glad you all, dear listeners, are here for us for the second part of second half of our Umineko journey.
Yeah, speaking of our listeners, there's only 1 square left on the bingo card. It's on screen right now. Tell us suggestions for the last square. of the bingo card.
Yeah, exactly.
It's in your hands.
And if we have more suggestions, maybe we'll finally make this bingo card like actual bingo card size, and it's 5x5.
Right?
That could be it.
Anyways, thank you again for listening. We'll catch you later. See Cats Do Crimes, and the people who have read past Umineko, you can fuck off too.
You're dismissed. See ya.
Bye.
Toodles.